At the cusp of the new decade, Nigeria's economy took an unforeseen turn. Even though we had existing challenges, the pandemic compounded our vulnerabilities. All is not lost. Through partnerships, we are managing the pandemic. By replicating this model, we can build resilient communities. Participate in the big conversation for action at the 26th Nigerian Economic Summit. Theme: Building Partnerships for Resilience. Date: the 26th to the 27th of October 2020. Register to attend at www.nesgroup.org/26. Hurry now!
Goals is a global goal that most of us already know, and Nigeria is not immune. The seed system and also the agribusiness sector is critical for that also to be examined and to be discussed amongst several platforms. The 26th Nigeria Economic Summit Group will be taking place 26th and 27th of October 2020. I would like to take this opportunity for those of you that have not registered yet to kindly do so on www.nesgroup.org/26. We would like to do a little housekeeping rules just before we get started. We'll kindly request that you mute your microphones and if possible, just have your video off, especially just leaving it for just the panelists alone. And if you have questions which we'll be expecting for the panelists, please type them in the Q&A box or you use the YouTube control panel. I will bring them to the panelists at the appropriate time and be assured that your questions will be addressed. I also want to mention that this event, pre-event, is just the beginning of engagement that will continue. And at the back end, the Nigeria Economic Summit Group will be engaging and providing platforms that you'll be sending in your questions and your concerns. And I do hope that with time, you'll have your questions adequately addressed. At this point, I would like to just introduce our panelists for today. I'll start with Ms. Wonu Adetayo, who is a board member of the Nigeria Economic Summit Group. We'll be having the Honorable Mustafa Sheuri, the Honorable Minister of State for Agriculture, Dr. Philip Ojo, who is the Director General and the CEO of the Nigeria Agricultural Summit Group, Mr. Bello Yakasai, who is the Deputy Team Lead of the Links Project, Professor Abraham Ogungbile, the Managing Director, CEO of Premier Seeds Limited. Indeed, Premier Seed is the premier seed company here in Nigeria. Engineer Segun Falade, the Head of Agric and the General Manager of Golden Agric Inputs Limited, will be joining us. Golden Agric Inputs Limited is a subsidiary of Flour Mills of Nigeria. Mrs. Nkiru Apareke is here. She's the chairperson of the board of the Business Innovation Platform at the International Institute for Tropical Agriculture in Ibadan. And lastly, but not the least, Mr. Kudzai Gomoyu, who is the head of Agribusiness at FCMB. I'd also like to mention Mr. Andrew Tombo, who is the team lead of the Links project in Nigeria. At this point, I would like to hand over to Ms. Wonu Adetayo for her opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Sonny, and welcome to everyone that is here present. It's indeed a pleasure to have you here, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Nigeria Economic Summit Group. Honorable Minister of State for Agriculture and Rural Development, Honorable Mustafa Sheuri, heads of ministries, departments, and agencies of government, captains of industry, members of the international community, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure on behalf of the board of Nigeria Economic Summit Group to welcome you to this pre-summit event of the 26th Nigeria Economic Summit, which obviously, as you know, is organized by the Nigeria Economic Summit Group, which we call NESG. Now, in response to the peculiar events of this year, we made a decision at the NESG to engage stakeholders in a big conversation for action. There are three reasons why we did that. The first is to shape strategic partnerships to chart a path to recovery. Second, to build resilience for our country's economy, our businesses, and also the households. And thirdly, to put Nigeria in a stronger position within the changing world order. Now, this big conversation for action is being driven by a series of pre-summit events, such as the one that we have today. The whole idea is to kickstart the discussions on the summit theme, which Sonny has rightly mentioned. The theme is building partnerships for resilience. This will enable us converge a wider range of stakeholders to deliberate on a broad set of thematic and sectoral issues so that we can also get some key outcomes. And all of this will serve as an input into the Summit 26. It has become apparent that sustainability is crucial. It's very, very important for us that we need to seize the opportunity presented by the COVID-19 pandemic to reevaluate Nigeria's current practices and to create practices that will be more sustainable in the evolving world. The essence of sustainability is to focus on creating a path to economic growth that continues to replicate itself and ultimately continue to promote prosperity in the years to come. To achieve Nigeria's food security agenda, it is imperative that there must be access to right quality inputs. Nigeria is currently plagued with a myriad of input deficiencies, which significantly hampers our food sustainability, import substitution, and indeed export promotion agenda. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic has further accentuated the need for resilience in our economies, and it has exposed the inadequacies of Nigeria's food systems. Recent data shows us that less than 15% of Nigerian farmers are using quality seed of improved varieties. We can therefore infer that over 85% of Nigerian farmers are presently using inferior quality seeds. If we must achieve optimal agricultural productivity, then Nigerian farmers must their adoption of seed varieties in order to meet the food security targets for Nigeria's teeming population. This will be facilitated by an actionable plan to fast-track the implementation of the Seeds Act and also the National Agricultural Seed Roadmap. More importantly, this plan should also revive the Seed Trade Association, enhance market development, regulation, as well as management, and to provide sustainable pathways for the growth of the seed business. It is our expectation at the NESG that today's public-private dialogue, and thank God we have seasoned participants, seasoned panelists who are going to engage in this conversation. Our expectation is that this dialogue will help to develop an implementation plan for the National Seed Roadmap and also provide short to medium-term recommendations for the government, for the private sector, as well as for other stakeholders to direct us on how to address the current and future seed security issues in Nigeria. I want to trust that we will all contribute our quota and lend the much needed voice and support to make today's engagement a resounding success. And on behalf of the board of the Nigeria Economic Summit Group, I wish us all very fruitful and productive deliberations. Thank you so much, every one of you, for being in attendance. Thank you to our panelists, and may God bless our country, Nigeria. Thank you. Sonny, over to you.
Thank you, Onu, for your opening and welcome address. Indeed, you've set the tone for the expectation and what we'll be looking at hearing from a seasoned team and panel in the next 1 hour. We'll be handing over to the person that sits on the driver's seat, looking at agriculture and looking at Nigeria as a whole. We'll be taking the keynote address at this point from Honorable Mustafa Sheuri, the Honorable Minister of State for Agriculture and Rural Development. He'll be speaking to us on the topic mitigating strategies for achieving food security and sustainable seed system in Nigeria. And this will come, he'll be speaking to this topic from the perspective of what the government has done and is also doing and what we will be expecting. Honorable Minister, sir.
Good afternoon. Are you hearing me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ms. Onu Adetayo, board member of National Economic Summit Group, invited resource persons, head of different businesses, captain of industries, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon once more. I am delighted to honor your invitation. I'm delighted to honor your invitation to this pre-summit conference, which is preparation to the 26th Nigeria Economic Summit, which comes on the 26th and 27th October 2020. Indeed, I am happy to hear that the theme of the conference, Building Partnership for Resilience, has been carefully chosen to serve all the various subsectors of the economy. Again, the topical issue under discussion, optimal productivity in Nigeria's agribusiness, is very apt, engaging and relevant to the mandate of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. At this juncture, I want to express my thanks to the organizers of this unique event for your thought to bring agriculture into focus in this conversation of action. Agriculture, without any doubt, has a viable prospect to expand Nigeria's economy. This underscores the importance that the current administration attach to the sector in the economic diversification agenda. It is therefore important that implementing sustainable agriculture is critical, not only to meet our domestic food requirement, but to conserve our foreign exchange through zero food importation, zero food imports, and put the nation as a net exporter of food within the Sub-Saharan Africa. Agricultural growth in recent times has been challenged on account of low productivity and the development of major agricultural value chains and ineffective linkages linkages with industrial and service sectors. The Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development is already addressing some of these issues through policy reform, and as a matter of fact, there is an ongoing policy dialogue that will soon be unveiled before the end of 2020 to all stakeholders. One of the fundamental problems arising from the low productivity is the faulty input system in which seeds, fertilizers, and other inputs play a greater role. Nigeria, like other developing countries, is still facing one of the largest farming crises through global pandemic. During the complete lockdown period, the food security was tested and challenged, but the resilience already built in it and our collective effort to lead to the mild positive growth that agriculture recorded in the second quarter of 2020. Indeed, we recorded a slower but not too sluggish positive growth of 1.58% as against 2.2% recorded in the first quarter of 2020 just before the pandemic. One of the factors that led to this mild achievement was the intervention on the supply of certified seed, fertilizers, and other inputs to farmers, which enabled them to resume farming activities nationwide. I visited several parts of the country to ensure that farmers have access to those inputs during the period of the COVID-19 pandemic. Seed production and optimization as a new business opportunity still remain untapped. The Nigerian seed economy is worth over 4 billion naira annually. Nigeria supplies over 40% of the seed requirement in West Africa. The global seed demand has a bright future that can generate foreign exchange earnings for Nigeria. Seed production as an agro-business is profitable, and I wish to call on indigenous investors to look into the direction as investment destination. We need seed to feed the world, and Nigeria must reform the seed sector to take full advantage of this global business opportunity. For us in Nigeria, the future of our food security lies in access to good food sources and good seed, and only good seed can guarantee that. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as you prepare for your 26th summit coming up on October 26, 2020, you will kindly examine how to attract massive investment to agriculture subsector as we reform agro-financing for an efficient and sustainable agriculture that will contribute significantly to our gross domestic product. I thank you very sincerely for your attention and wish you a happy deliberation. Thank you and God bless. I'm through. Hello? Hello? Hello?
We can hear you, Honorable Minister. Maybe we have temporarily lost. Maybe we temporarily lost our anchor. Not you, Honorable Minister. It's our anchor. It's the new normal. Exactly. Just wait. Sonny will join us back.
Okay.
Welcome, Sonny. Take over, please.
Thank you.
What happened?
The power of network.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much for your address and also speaking to the topical issue and to the concern around seed security in Nigeria. At this point, we'll be handing over to Dr. Philip Olusegun Ojo for his own address, and he'll be addressing the topic Seed Roadmap Journey so far, access, quality, and traceability. And he'll be speaking more about what the Nigeria Agricultural Seed Council had done so far, and also the steps that they are taking to address and to change the paradigm of what we have and what we are seeing currently. Thank you very much, sir, and over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I hope I'm being heard. Yeah.
We can hear you, sir. We can hear you.
Thank you very much. My Honorable Minister, sir, and other panelists, good morning. I want to speak on this topic, Seed Roadmap, the journey so far, access, quality, and traceability. I hope we are going to share these slides. Well, the National Seed Roadmap is a strategic policy document that guides stakeholders in the seed sector towards increasing farmers' access to and use of quality seeds. The document actually includes a vision that describes the achievements, the challenges, and outline ambitions and strategic innovation pathways that contribute to the realization of those ambitions. The document is structured in 3 primary questions. Where are we now? Where do we intend to go? And how do we get there? And so where we are now, I want to say that despite years of significant improvement in crop improvement, more than 90% of seed use in Sub-Saharan Africa is obtained from the informal seed sector. I want to also say that crop productivity in Sub-Saharan Africa is considerably lower than what obtains in other continents. Also, the number of farmers using quality seed of improved varieties is below 15%. Now, the focus discussion group that actually work on the roadmap look at the current farmers' seed sources, and we discovered that most of the seeds that are being used are actually from predominantly farmer-safe seeds, with the exception of maize hybrid. The farmer markets are still currently the most important source of seeds of various crops. Also, the vehicle discussion group look at the seed gap, and we discovered that while the market for maize OP seems saturated, huge seed gaps are expected from other crops, particularly for 2020, 2025, and 2030. But for tomato seeds, the indications are that no seed gap because the seeds are actually being brought by international and regional seed companies. There are a number of challenges in the seed sector. Actually, while developing the roadmap, we got a total of 84 challenges. 84 challenges that were related to 34 different topics. And these challenges were actually grouped under 6 seed sector performance functions. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for sharing now. Now, the 6 performance indicators include, thank you very much. Okay, let's go to the next slide. They include seed service provision. Okay, let's go. Seed service provision, production systems, seed market development, here. Seed market development, revenue generation and investments, seed sector coordination, and seed sector regulation and management. Actually, enhancing availability and access to use of quality seeds is actually a very complex thing because seed needs to be physically available in sufficient quantities at the right time and place, and also accessible at affordable price, and be of variety well suited to the local agroeconomic conditions and to farmers and market demands. Now, I mentioned that there are 6 performance indicators are actually listed. And if you go to the next slide, you will see a number of challenges that are actually stated, but I'm not going to go through the challenges because of lack of time. You will actually look at it later. But there are so many challenges that are actually listed. I mentioned that there are 85 of them. Can you go to the next slide, please? Now, I've told you where we are, but the next question is, where do we want to be? Let's go to the next slide. And I want to inform the general public that we in the council and the industry, we have a vision. Can we go to the next slide? The vision is that we want to be a high-performing seed sector. A seed sector that is competitive, profitable, innovative, adaptive, inclusive, and resistant, and also transparent. But how do we get there with all the challenges? How can we achieve all these ambitions in a manner that does not jeopardize its sustainability? The ambitions have been grouped, like I mentioned, into six sector transformation areas. And if you go to the next slide, you will see, okay, here, you can see those areas that I mentioned, the seed service provision, the seed production system, and you can see some of the areas, the strategic areas that are listed, the strategic innovation pathways under the various ambitions. For want of time, I would not want to go through them, but I want to say that all these strategic innovation pathways has been carefully looked at and grouped together, and there are strategic partners and critical stakeholders who are out to help to achieve this ambition that have been identified. All of them have been identified. Now, what have we started doing in Seed Council? In order to ensure access, enhance quality, and ensure traceability. Well, we are actually in partner with others, introducing various technological innovations to better delivery in line with international best practices, to improve farmers' access to quality seeds and enhance traceability. The first thing that we did is we have a seed act now, which has been reviewed and amended to make it consistent with global best practices, with a lot of key improvements in the act compared to what we used to have. There are modifications in the penalty for infringement and so many options. And also, we are introducing the plant variety protection law, including third party. Can we go to the next slide? The Seed Act also empowered the NASC to outsource certain aspects of the certification process to the third party. Go to the next slide. Therefore, today, we have an operational manual for third-party certification. And I want to inform you that 18 young men and women have completed their internship and commenced operation in Benin, particularly for cassava certification. And we are going to, the initiative is actually being expanded to cover Kogi, Abia, and Oyo State under the British program. In collaboration with other partners, we have developed a robust 5-year strategic plan and a 2-year implementation plan that will guide the council in executing its responsibilities through efficient service delivery implementation. Implementation actually started. Certification is no longer visual, it has gone diagnostic. And this is actually in line with international best practices. This is to ensure virus-free planting materials for vegetative propagated materials. We have a molecular facility commissioned in 2018 and has successfully tested cassava samples from breeder seeds of cassava for cassava mosaic virus. Also, steps are actually being included to test for cassava brown streak virus. We're not going to wait until this virus comes to Nigeria before we start putting this right. Also, a laboratory that we are looking at can support seed export and also check the status of imported seed. Also, in addition to that, certification has gone digital, particularly with the use of the National Seed Tracker, which is a web app for real-time tracking of seed production, seed trade, seed quality management, and seed certification. With the aid of the tracker, it has to manage all seed production activities So if you are in Karanamoda, you don't need to go to Zaria to get registered. So this is done on the seed tracker. You don't need to go to other places or the headquarters of the seed council to have your field registered. This is done with the aid of the seed tracker. Also, seed data management and communication with NASC is actually one of those things that is done with the seed tracker. So we are going to do that. Also, one of the game changers that have been introduced is the Turnkey electronic certification system we call the seed codex. The seed codex enables farmers and other users to instantly verify the quality and the authenticity and genuineness of every seed container before use by just simply signing or be scratching the silver panel and testing the hidden numbers to 1393. A lot of issues have been discussed, particularly when it comes to issue of seed adulteration. But with the seed codex, immediately you buy your seed, look at it, and actually that silver panel, remove what is there, and whatever the hidden number, you test it to 1393, and you will be informed immediately whether what is there is genuine or counterfeit. Also, we are introducing the plant variety protection law, which is a legal designation to protect plant breeders and grant them intellectual property rights. The bill is currently in the National Assembly. It has gone past first and second reading and is awaiting further legislative action. So the PV, we all know, is actually very, very essential in achieving food security and address sustainability, particularly in the context of climate change and global population growth. Also, we have started the development of descriptors for maize, rice, and soybean, particularly to enhance quality assurance process of our seed certification officers. Also, we have introduced the yam seed system and a number of novel technologies to multiply vine cuttings into seed yam. We have also introduced yam seed tracker. And finally, we have instituted what we call Seed Connect Africa Expo and Conference, which is an annual event organized by NASC in collaboration with the private seed sector. The conference provides a forum for stakeholders to converge, exchange viewpoints, network with other stakeholders, and create business partnership with regional and international partners. That's exactly what you are saying, the last one, which was done in 2019. For the third edition, because of the pandemic, which is affecting everybody, we are planning it to be virtual in the month of October. And all of you are invited. I want to thank everybody. Thank you very much. And I want to thank my Honorable Minister. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ojo, for this detailed and comprehensive presentation. Indeed, from what you've just shared in just a few minutes, it is clear that the Seed Council has moved up and stepped up its game significantly with the setup of the digital lab and also taking a lot of your innovations up on a scale that you are embracing technology is something to cheer, and also an exciting development that would set Nigeria on a path towards seed security as we are X-raying at the moment. Your presentation, I'm sure for those that are joining us virtually, the Economic Summit Group at some point in time will make extracts and will make some of these materials available for those that hadn't joined on time to really see what the Seed Council is doing. Once more, thank you for your presentation. And I'll be coming back to you with some questions at some point. At this point, I'll be requesting Professor Ogungbile to just speak to us briefly on the local research and development efforts around local seed varieties, and also the great plan towards sustainability, and which is primarily focused on our own interest to see how seed will be seen as a security tool towards keeping the nation and the teeming population in a secured manner, that we do not in any way have an explosion of crisis which will be related to farming. So, sir, we want to just hear from you in 5 minutes what Premier Seed is doing and also what we should expect in order to mitigate the challenges that will be associated towards Nigeria not achieving the desired seed security that we're looking at, sir.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Minister, distinguished panelists. Well, seed is essential to agriculture, and availability of it is also crucial to improve food security and poverty alleviation. However, seed is also related to other systems. Seed system is related to research system. In Nigeria, what I can call research system will be the agri-research institutes that were established in the 1970s and 80s. The faculties of agriculture, the universities, and the international research institutes. These organizations combined can be said to be the research system in Nigeria. And these organizations work in collaboration to provide agricultural technology to the country. I would say these organizations play significant roles in the seed industry development. They largely are the research entity that will provide the breeder seeds and foundation seeds when resources allow them to. So with both national and international research institutes in Nigeria, we are sure that seed system will be put in place. They develop varieties and technologies to make these varieties to perform very well. And they ensure that whatever they have developed will be released by the Variety Release Committee. And the product which they get out of this is what you can call public goods. So they make available breeder and foundation seed to seed companies and other organizations that will use this. And this is public goods freely. But as things go on, the research performance of these public research institutes decline, and they could not supply all the public good that is required. It means that private research institutes or private research efforts have to be put in place. So seed companies that usually would depend on research institutes for their foundation seed has been getting breeder seed from research institutes, and with permission from National Agri-Seed Council, which is the regulatory body, private companies now can produce foundation seed. Initially, they could only produce foundation seed to be used by the various companies, but now they have liberalized the rule, and very few capable companies can now produce foundation seeds and can sell to their colleagues so that they can produce certified seed, which will make this to be plenty enough to be distributed to the farmers. Well, what research the private institutions are having is what we can call adaptive research, because they don't have all the resources that are available in the government research institutes, especially BIDAs and other facilities. But they are able to adapt whatever they are taking from the research institutes, now be able to multiply this into what farmers can use. And we do this one by collaboration. So the private research now can now boast of producing at least something like 15% of what is needed, while the major research institutes, both national and international research institutes, can produce seed materials for about 85% of our need. But there are a lot of things that the private research institutes can do, private research, especially seed companies, can do, because they can extend the horizon to which the research institutes cannot get into by giving training to the farmers, giving training to people who will also train the farmers, what we call pre-season. So whatever agronomic technology that will be needed, the big research institutes will not do that. Through the effort of the what we call private research of other seed company, a lot of technologies have been done to be able to extend what they are doing, and a lot of collaborations with the research institutes to be able to develop new varieties, especially some companies are able to, like us, can produce hybrid. It's only need to get the parental materials from bigger institutes, like it's maize, from IR, IRT, IITA, and with good management, improved hybrids can be produced or placed. And to premier seed, we have been able to come out with about 9 hybrids with different properties and characteristics, which are available to the farmers that we have in there. And in terms of training, our students brought from all over the country, we have the grant to be able to train people who come for industrial training to complement what they are doing. So as private research institutes, we are able to do this. And I would say, as of now, in terms of extension, in terms of demonstration, how the farmers can do this, good agronomic practices, the private research organizations, especially seed companies, are able to do this successfully. We have extension properties that we can distribute to the farmers. This is what the private companies can do, which research institutes cannot do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Ogunbile, for this detailed overview of what Premier Seeds has been doing over the years. Clearly, you have highlighted a very key and major point, which is the place of collaboration, bringing research to the marketplace. And Premier Seed has been able to do that with the introduction of over 9 varieties, as you did mention. I am sure there will be expectation from the audience and also larger populace joining us from all over on some of the new and innovative steps that you are taking on other crops. I'll leave that to what's the question and answer session where you'll be able to tell us more. Let's just move quickly to a major commercial player in the space, Engineer Shegun. We want to hear from you, looking at Golden Agric Inputs Limited being a part of a large corporate, which is Flour Mills of Nigeria. Let's hear from you some of the steps that you've taken, partnership initiatives that you are currently engaging to promote access to good technology and also good seeds that will be available to farmers. And what you're doing, looking at backward integration that will support the growth in the seed sector. I want to hear from you what you and your company is doing and how you see this helping to shape the space going forward. We'll take your submissions briefly in 4 minutes, if you, in the interest of time, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sonny. Honorable Minister and all participants, good afternoon. Flour Mills of Nigeria, FMN, as everyone knows, is a major industrial user of grains and cereals, most especially because of the demand of the growing population. There is also the need for the population to be fed. Therefore, one of the things we've been doing is moving from a single flour mill operation in the port of Apapa in 1960 to become a leading food and agro-business, allied business in the nation. One of the things we realized very quickly, almost about 20 years ago, is that there is no way that you can have a sustainable business in Nigeria without focusing attention on backward integration and giving the right input to be able to make growing these grains much more affordable and efficient as we move forward. So one of the things that we have done is creating a company known as Golden Agric Inputs. This Golden Agric Input, which is a synonym called GALE, which is a subsidiary of FMN, offers a platform that provides reliable, consistent supply of local raw materials for the utilization of FMN Group processing facilities. As you all know, we are the biggest wheat milling company in Nigeria. We are also the biggest feed milling company in Nigeria, and also we have a very big vegetable oil processing plant located in Ibadan. So all this requires a lot of grain, both in the maize value chain, in the soybean value chain, in the wheat value chain, and in the palm oil value chain. So one of the things we realized was that being able to continue to import grain into the country is not sustainable for our economic development and for the growth of our people. It is not sustainable. On the basis of that, what we did first was, over a couple of years, try to look at the best available seed locally, all right? Try them, compare the yield, and also look for other partners in the world that could give good hybrid seed that will be able to, sustain our backward integration program. So one of the things we did was after doing all these experiments, we decided that we would partner with Corteva, the producer of Pioneer seeds. One thing we did was to validate and authenticate this hybrid seed on our own farm over over a land area of over 5,000 hectares over a period of about 3 years. And consistently, we were able to get an average yield between 5.4 and 7.5, depending on those locations. As a result of that, what we did was to say, okay, fine. Since this is an internationally accepted seed, in conjunction with local producers, what we did was to start to market and become a sole distributor for this particular seed in the Nigerian market. And fortunately for us, we'll be able to grow that. The hybrid seed is doing extremely very well. And we are putting them into the smallholder schemes within the country. And as we are doing that, we are also providing market linkages for these people. But we cannot continue to bring imported varieties into the country and think that that is sustainable. That is not the aim of FMN in the long run. So, in conjunction with Corteva, we started to produce locally in one of our own farms in Kwara State. We've done 2 seasons now, being able to produce a different variety, which has been registered in Nigeria in conjunction with IITA and also with Corteva. This is what we have been able to propagate. So we have in the market now about 3 varieties of this maize seed, and we are going into a soybean also, which is a little bit more difficult than maize, but our experiments have shown that we'll be able to increase the yield over a period of time, because as a business, we use over 200,000 metric tons of soybean on a yearly basis, and we want to ensure that we are able to give the input. Apart from partnering with Corteva, we also ensure, because there is no good seed development without the right agronomic practices and the right skill to be able to grow this. One of the major problems is a technical capability of people to be able to produce the right seed. So in conjunction with Corteva also, a lot of training of young Nigerians, agronomists is being carried out massively in almost about 3 locations now. So with all these things, what we are trying to do is, in addition to creating this wealth of knowledge and the varieties, we are also providing knowledge base for the seed production in conjunction with National Seed Council. We'll be able to register and do a lot of things as far as that one is concerned. So this partnership also has also gone into the wheat value chain. In consonance with the Flour Millers Association of Nigeria, we have dedicated resource that is producing good seeds locally now in part of Kebbi, in part of Kano, in order to be able to give to wheat growers, so that we can increase the dry season farming of wheat in Nigeria with the varieties that is extremely very good. The durum level is excellent, and we will be able to do that. So it's a continuous process, and let me just stop there, because there are other things that we're doing which we'll be talking about as we move forward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Falade. I'll just want to ask you just 2 questions, if you can just take them in the interest of time. We want you to tell us some of the policy documents that drive activities largely in the agribusiness space, specifically looking at the seed sector as it is for now. What are some of the experiences as a large corporate, the flour mills has seen, either by incentive or demerit, that is impacting your local engagements positively or negatively. Then looking at what you have done in the corn space and also in the wheat space, what would you just share as 2-3 points for new entrants that want to play in this space that will help to scale the current output and the efforts that flour mills is currently putting towards backward integration?
Thank you very much, Sunny. We know, I mean, the Honorable Minister has mentioned quite a lot of things, and the head of the National Seed Council, Professor Olusegun Ojo, has also mentioned quite a lot of policies, initiatives that have gone into this. I'll just mention, there are a lot. For instance, there is a lot of drive focusing on local seed, production of seed in Nigeria, which is very laudable. We also know that the National Seed Policy, which the NESG has been driving, is also of immense benefit, especially the seed certification and tracing that has been introduced has been excellent. We also know that the CBN has been doing quite a lot of intervention in specific seed value chain development in the country. All of these have their positive, all these policies have their positive and negative aspect. But I will first of all dwell on the positives. For instance, before now, the national discourse on seed and seed production is not as high as we have it now. Okay, there is a greater participatory discussion of various challenges facing the seed industry in Nigeria, the seed gap we have in Nigeria, and the need to attract investment in seed production, in seed processing and distribution to farmers. So this discourse has widened the knowledge, the information that is necessary for people to take the right decision, the right investment decision. And that has also assisted us as flour mills to go the way we are going. Also, one of the major problems that has bedeviled the seed industry in Nigeria has always been, how do you recognize genuine seeds? All right? How do you get the right seed and not buying grains that has been colored, all right, and being sold in the market as seed? But the seed certification process, which NESG has introduced, has enhanced traceability and curbing of these various activities and adulteration issues in the market. This is something that we have embraced and we see as a good point. So there's now a basis for enforcement of law, regarding seed development. However, as good as majority of these things are, there are still some areas that is still pulling a lot of people back, especially, some of us in the private sector, to go the entire org of seed production, and to go it very fast and a faster space. One of them is the issue of the intellectual property protection. I know that Prof. Olusegun Ojo mentioned a little bit about a law being pushed right now. For the past 7 to 8 years, this has been in the waiting. Nothing has been done. Because of this, it has not allowed partners who have good varieties, who wants to come in and produce and distribute this product in the country, to be able to to release their intellectual properties freely for seed development. So therefore, what they are doing is a closed loop, gradual development of local seed, all right? And this takes longer to produce to scale because of the fear of losing their proprietary right to those who want to steal it. So the other thing I also want to talk about is that with all these interventions, there is the issue of ban reportation of seed. I was reading the National Seed Policy document. We have over 314 seed companies in Nigeria. A few of them are producing about 1,000 metric tons of seed on a yearly basis. So, and we need quite a lot more of seed, in the country. Therefore, what we'll talk about is that the blanket ban on importation of seed should be avoided. It must be taken on a case-by-case basis. I want to talk about some factors to consider. Is the total seed requirement of the country, what are the deficit, what are the glut area, so that there will be enough seed to plant. Allowing new varieties of seed to be tested, to be grown, and to see the economic viability of such investment under guided approach by NASC is also very important. So that the people who are coming in will be able to say, okay, fine, we are investing so much money into this, all right? Is it economically viable for us to do that? That way we'll be able to assist them in getting things done. Somebody mentioned just now that recently we had serious problem with drought. I mean, with flooding in Kebbi, in Sokoto, and in part of Sokoto, and in part of Kogi. A lot of seed companies who are in this plain, who are producing seed in this plain, have gotten their crops destroyed. All right? And that will affect the availability of seed in the coming season. So what we need to do is to take this into consideration and make sure that there are registered varieties in the country that can easily be called upon at the snap of a finger, so that we will be able to meet up with that. We also know one thing. I mean, it has been mentioned by one of the participants here that in the OPV market, I mean, maize is almost a saturated, there's a saturated consumption as far as that area is concerned. But we know, and every one of us know, that the hybrid seed is a game changer, especially in terms of yield as far as this is concerned. So if it is a game changer, efforts must be geared towards encouraging the introduction, propagation, and processing of hybrid seed. It's only 10%. Okay.
Thank you very much for your time. I'm sure there will be questions that you respond to.
Okay.
Indeed, you have so rich experience that you want to share. Let me turn to Mr. Yakasai. From the presentation from Professor Ojo, you will see the efforts that have been made by the Agricultural Seed Council to shape the policy space with the National Seed Roadmap. I would like for you to speak briefly to what the Links project is doing in that regard. First of all, looking at how your efforts on the ground, the project is looking at supporting the seed roadmap. Secondly, I would like for you to speak to some of the innovative and best practices that the Links project is bringing to bear that will support farm extension, training, and capacity building of smallholder farmers. And finally, we've talked so much about collaboration, and looking at our journey in the seed system in Nigeria, it is an evolution. I will just say at this point that we are at the infancy stage. What are some of the things that key actions and steps that the Links project is looking at bringing to bear, from the policy side to training and capacity building, innovation, and also collaboration that will bring several players together on one platform that will support our goal towards achieving seed security? Mr. Yakasai, sir.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, DG, and top level NESG management and colleagues. I think this very heavy loaded question, especially when Oga Ojo has spoken, Professor has spoken. Oga Ojo knows that well, I always bow my head down when he speaks. They say, well, why? I said, no, Oga has spoken for me. So when he's spoken, I don't have much to say. But looking at it from the practical point of view, Links is established to look at the real issue on the ground. And whatever we're doing is to address those issues that are identified as the basis issues. So I will, for this moment, leave the top level talk to Professor Ogun and Professor Ojo to do that. But I will talk at the grassroots level.
I want you to be very practical, sir.
Yes, thank you. So first and foremost, the definition of seed or input generally encompasses the fact that it's only useful when it satisfies the farmer's demand to improve his productivity. And invariably, helps him improve his livelihood. Now the issue is, no matter our effort, if this effort doesn't translate to farmers' utilization at the end, we will have to come back and start. And I'm happy everybody do realize that, and a lot of effort are being put in ensuring that farmers get the benefit of what we are doing today. So first of all, we need to have the capacity, as you've asked, and I will take it that way. We need to have that capacity of people who can translate this effort that has been mentioned in this forum to the farm. I mean, we can have a lot of researchers at the institute level. We can have a lot of expertise at the company level, but we are having a gap. There's need to create that bridge that takes these efforts from these companies to the farm. And one way of doing that is the like of what Golding is doing now, is identify where there are these gaps and invest in training, and that becomes part of their marketing strategy. For example, if we go back years, and I think the time has come for us to look at that, when we have spat plots in every location, when every villager doesn't have to be persuaded to buy seed because he sees it in his village. If the companies will invest, the private sector will invest in that some way with the local personalities, probably we'll have more penetration at the moment. Secondly, I think the issue around strengthening the association seed and particularly is key to achieving this, because at the moment we lack, well, it's weak, internal regulation. There's a lot of effort by the NESG, a lot of effort by individual companies, but then the association should be empowered to also be able to put in regulations that will assist in ensuring that seed of quality have reached the farm. Now, I'll give you some example. We talked about adulteration, and we know adulteration does not take place in the company. It is mostly along the line of trading. And because traceability was weak, there's no mechanism for these individual companies to follow their seed to the farmers level. So people open the bags, fill it with grains, and resell to farmers. So one bag could be maybe produce 4 or 5 mixed bags. And then you go to the field, you say, what kind of a seed, what kind of seed have you used? So I think there's need for somehow empowering the association to ensure that they have a way of helping the individual companies to track their product and to ensure that these individual companies have been, supported in order to go to the market without having their product adulterated along the way. So, there is the issue of supporting the farmers themselves with information. Now we're talking about 15% uptake. Believe me, there are more farmers who would want to uptake seeds, but the problem is that they don't have information. The last mile distribution channels are weak. And I can tell you, if you go to my village now, we don't have a single extension agent or a company representative that sells seeds in our village. So you have to come down to Kano to buy from a retailer and go back to a village. That doubles the cost of the seeds. And you buy from a retailer who is not trained to sell seed, who is too far to give the farmer the post services required for the seed to yield, he himself doesn't know exactly what is required of that seed too, because it's not just about the seed, it's also about best practices. So if there is no after sales extension services, the effectiveness will not come out. Thirdly, I think I'm sure the seed company would be happy with me when I say this. I don't know, some who are there but for opportunity may not, but some who are there to really do business like Golden Premier would be happy with me. I think we need to rethink of how we administer incentive in this country, particularly input incentive. because they tend to be in competition with the market, with the private sector market. Even though some companies take advantage, they produce whatever garbage and sell to the government in the state and local government, sometimes even in the federal. But it comes at a time when it is critical for private sector company to sell their input. The government brings in highly, actually sometimes ridiculously subsidized seeds into the market. So they compete directly with the company. And to me, if I were an investor, then I would be careful when and where I invest. I'm not saying subsidy is absolutely necessary, but how it is administered matters a lot. And just to save a lot of time, I will speak on one more issue. The access to finance is a key thing. Of the over 300 seed companies in this country, I don't think if you do the math, you find up to 10% that are comfortable, able to support themselves to grow. Most of these companies probably come because of ATA. I'm sure the largest number come because of ATA during the ATA era. Some of them are just there by name. Some of them are producing a ton or even less. So I don't want to call them seed companies. I want to call those companies that have the capacity. But we can build the capacity of these smaller seed companies if we can inject financial support into their activities. At the moment, it's so critical, and I would wish that of the palliative provided, seed companies that are struggling are considered in this aspect. I will leave it at that. Maybe when you come back with other questions, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bello Yakasai, for those great insights. Let's move to Madam Nkiru now, so that we won't be seen as being gender biased. The men have just been speaking. We wouldn't want to have her just as the last person in the course of the session. First of all, Madam Nkiru, thank you and congratulations on your appointment as the chairperson of the board of the Business Innovation Platform of IITA. On this role, I know you're saddled with some responsibilities, and the topic on the fore at the moment also speaks directly to what you will be doing. Want to hear from you. Institutions like IITA and the rest of other research organizations operating in Nigeria, we want to hear how you would want to see that space being shaped, that both NGOs, development partners, and the government will be seen as working together in unison to help the seed sector to grow. In the light of Professor Ojo's presentation, looking at the National Agricultural Seed Act and also the roadmap for Nigeria, we want you to speak to that. Secondly, you know quite well that innovation is a major enabler, and also it drives evolution in any sector. Agriculture is not left out. What are some of the innovative technologies that seed entrepreneurs and trade associations can adopt for climate resilient seeds, and also businesses that will be seen as meeting the challenge of what weather and also even COVID has made it a reality, that what we are seeing now, moving from what the normal is like. And finally, please speak to how BIP is looking at supporting training for smallholder farmers, especially on good technologies that will help in quality seed production.
Thank you very much, Sonny, and thanks for having me on the panel. And good afternoon to everybody that's listening to me. Everybody knows that IITA is a premier research institute in Nigeria, or actually for tropical Africa, and they've been focused on a couple of seeds: yam, cassava, cowpea, maize, banana, plantain. But the thing is that IITA produces only breeder and foundation seeds, which they license to seed companies to now start the multiplication. and produce certified seeds. We found out over a period of time, IITA found out over a period of time that some of the seed companies were not meeting up with the obligation and there was still an opportunity. That was why they set up the IITA BIP. The IITA BIP is a private company, a subsidiary of IITA. So they can now do seed production under certified seed. Listening to everybody here, the thing about seed is that I think I'm the only farmer on this platform, on this panel. I'm not, apart from being on the board, I'm a full-time farmer, I farm. So all these policies on seed and the rest affect the production in which I do. And we have come to realize that a lot of the seed companies coming in are not selling us the right seeds, either from them or because the market has been adulterated and somehow the management or the people supposed to certify all these things are not doing what they need to do. IITA has a lot of equipment, they have a lot of expertise, they've been doing this for a while, and they have different technologies which they have been using to produce seeds. They have the genome tools they use for marker-assisted selection, they have advanced phenotyping approaches, they have advanced data management. But for the IITA BIP, which produces certified seeds, especially for cassava and yam, they use the semi-autoponic hydroponics, and they also use, this thing to also produce for the ones that they're going to sell to the people. Technology plays a long part in what we're doing, especially in seed. I was happy when I heard, Engineer Faladay saying that one of the problems they've had of investors coming into the seed is protection for their intellectual property. But a company like IITA, that's the bedrock of what we do. We protect intellectual property. So if that is an issue based on lack of policy, the BIP is set up to work with private companies now to do certification of their, produce certified seeds for them. And in that way, they can able to produce more than IITA will have been able to do, because IITA just does only breeder and foundation seeds, which they license again to seed companies to do certified seeds. So they have set up this company to be able to work with private companies who want to produce seeds and who know that the intellectual properties will be quite protected. Another thing we have found out also in the seed companies is that when these seeds are produced, or the seeds that are sold here, there is no agronomic practice or qualified agric extension service workers to support them. I was happy when Mr. Ayakasa talked about it. I've been in the agric sector for about 7-8 years, and I buy seeds for different companies. I've never been able to get agronomic support, agricultural extension service, so they don't even know I exist, which is such a gap, because in the Western world, these things will not be happening. You can't come and sell seeds to us without giving us the knowledge of how to use the seeds. Things as simple as even the spacing. If I'm supposed to space 40 centimeters between a plant and I space 60 or 70, I'm not going to get the yield you're telling me, you've told me I'll get when I plant the seeds. If I don't use the right chemicals, protective chemicals for what I'm doing, especially selective herbicides, I'm not going to get the right yield for that. So in trying to meet this gap, something IITA does is that we have said those people, we also, subseed companies have approached us. We have demonstration farms, which we try their seeds. And then we have open days, which farmers can come and see what we're doing. Look at this, look at the demonstration farms and see the right way to use these seeds in their production. That is one of the things IITA does. We have farmer days for farmers to come and see, talk with an agronomist, our agric extension service workers, see the seed actually the way it is being used, and we correct them and teach them. Those are some of the things we're doing to bridge the gap of seed production and seed use in Nigeria. We have also seen that because of the COVID, what actually happened is that a lot of countries actually started practicing protectionism. They didn't allow seeds. I, as a farmer, I was greatly impacted because I had to decrease my production because I didn't get all the seeds I needed during that period. I was ready to produce. Other farmers were ready to produce, but because of the imports and because of protectionism, the countries didn't allow seeds to leave. So that greatly affects our production, and that will greatly translate to food scarcity. And that is why this conference is very important, because that ties into our food security issues. But what I'm trying to say is that, first of all, IITA BIP has been set up to support the seed companies. We have seen that there's a gap. IITA as a research institute has seen that there's a gap in seed production, and we cannot allow all our seeds to be seeds that are imported from other countries. We need to have a local production of seeds. They're already doing it in somewhere like Tanzania, in Arusha. They are doing it in Benin Republic. So we are the biggest market. How come these companies are not coming in to set up the seat? And that's why we're here to support them. We in BIP can work with you. We'll have the expertise, we'll have the machinery, we'll have the staff. We have a policy of protection of intellectual property. So you know whatever you're handing over to us, you will not see it in the market being produced by others.
Thank you very much, Nkiru, for your submissions and your insights. I'm already receiving questions. At this point, I'll just ask you one. It's coming from someone, Folorunsho Dayo. She's working at the Bioresources Development Center in Jalingo. And she's requesting to know how BIP IITA can collaborate with them. So you can just note that down. Maybe back end, you'll be given the details from Folorunsho Dayo, Bioresource Development Center. How can we collaborate with BIP IITA? Now you've talked about some of the scalable technologies, and it does not in any way remain at your place there and effective for the farmers. It has to be moved from your place down to the hands of the farmers. Let's also just have Kudzai at this point bring some dimension of the business to what we're speaking to. Ultimately, seed security, it's about finance, it's about farmers making money, and it's about the nation moving out of its current challenge of low revenue to looking at innovative ways that it will be seen as growing the agri sector, which ultimately increases the GDP and moves us from where we are currently. Kudzai, I know FCMB has been very much involved in several agri initiatives. And for you as a person, you come with a lot of background in the agribusiness space. We would like you to speak to what you see as the approach where developments and commercial companies, development partners and commercial companies will come together, having an approach that they can just work. In other words, looking at the seed roadmap. At some point, some would look at the document and say, the conclusion is that this is a development policy document. Others will see the commercial benefits out of it. Where do you stand, and what is the role currently of Nigerian banks in supporting seed companies, not agribusiness initiative? Finally, which value chain would you consider the most attractive for seed investors, for investors that are looking at focusing in the seed sector in the entire value chain? What are some of the key crops that you may want to give us insight from your analysis and also research that has been done that will be seen as being an attraction in which the likes of Premier Seeds and flour mills can begin to consider, and getting also the support of the National Agricultural Seed Council to drive investors in that direction that will be seen as changing the paradigm from where we are currently.
Thank you, Sonny. Honorable Minister and distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and all protocol observed. I would want to maybe for members to realize that banks are not charity organizations. Banks are there to, to make money. And anything that does not make money for the bank, it's not profitable. It's not something that I would actually want to participate in. Having said that, all the companies that we support in the agri space, be it those that are into grain crops, tree crops, they give us proposal based on some potential of production that they would have budgeted on. That potential is in most cases represented by seed. Seed is such an important thing in the agri sector because it determines the quantity that you can produce, the quality that you can produce, and the competitiveness that any business has. If you look at banks, if I have to finance a project, it means that project has to be able to, after spending on fertilizers, chemicals, seed, and all, for it to be able to sell that produce and pay me back interest plus capital. And that also includes some accidents that might happen on the way where banks can lose money because farmers or someone has failed to repay the loan. As banks in Nigeria, when we do appraise projects, we are looking at, is the business competitive? And we are seeing that there is a lot of issues as regards the seed value chain. We need, as a bank, we have a number of programs and even funds that are available from the central bank, our own depositors funds that we can deploy to support seed production. But as I said, if I deploy money to support seed production, that money has to come back. And we are seeing there is a lot of improvement from when I joined during our days with the Growth Enhancement Support Program, the GES. There has been an improvement in seed varieties being churned on the Nigerian market. If you look at the seed varieties, most of them are OPVs, open pollinated varieties, which are not very easy to protect in terms of intellectual property because anyone can multiply them. There are hybrid varieties that I've seen. The average yields in Nigeria are lower compared to other areas in the world. And that in itself becomes a sort of a problem in terms of competitiveness. As banks, what we do is we have a number of things like we are supporting the Anchor Borrower Scheme program. We are participating there. We also participate in the Commercial Agricultural Credit Scheme, on the real sector support facilities, which we give to seed producers for them on a number of levels. Seed has to come in with development, research and development. You will find that there will be very few banks that can give money for research and development because you are not assured of an income or an outcome that can repay your loans. Sometimes they are successes, sometimes they are not successes. But what I see is banks come in to support, especially where there is multiplication of a seed that has been proven its efficacy in terms of does it produce the highest quality, the highest quantity, the best quality, and also does it require is it resistant to a number of diseases? Is it resistant to drought? Can it resist pests? All those things come into the multiplication bit. So as a bank, we are supporting the multiplication bit because you are assured that if a seed is good, it will find buyers. Now, there is also a lot that happens in terms of supporting the processing and grading of seed. There is specialized equipment that comes in for processing and grading of seed. Some even go to the extent of using optical sorters to sort their seed such that there will be very little rejection. And you find that the seed that comes out will have very high germination rates, and will also have no problems in it taking a stand when it germinates. So as banks, we are supporting this aspect, and you can get facilities from commercial agricultural credit schemes, real sector support facilities. We also support the seed distribution and retailing. You know, we've got agro dealers whom we support, who are into seed distribution, into seed retailing. So as banks, we are doing that. But one thing that is important is the final end, which is the demand side of seed. And banks in Nigeria, of course, when I joined the bank in 2012, the bank's total book was about 0.8%. I can say now, as a bank, we are now on about 9% of our total assets in agriculture. So there has been a remarkable improvement in banks financing agriculture. So the demand side is where banks are supporting clients who then buy the seed. And these are the seed, maize especially, rice, soya bean, and also oil palm. And we also have even supported the development of the building of facilities such as tissue culture, cassava multiplication for some of our clients. So as banks, we are doing a lot in this space, and we will continue to do this, because one is the sector that determines the competitiveness of the agribusiness sector. If you look at maize, for instance, we have some countries now, like I can give in Zimbabwe, for instance, some of the varieties are going, farmers are getting as high as 23 tons per hectare for maize. If Nigeria today can just go to an average of 5 tons per hectare for maize, Nigeria will be able to export maize without putting an extra hectare of maize. So we feel this is the sector to support, but it also needs the seed companies themselves to invest a lot of money in research and development, so that they come out with winning seed that is competitive and that produces the best quality. The other thing that we see which needs to be done in terms of policy is, when seed is churned out, I would want farmers to be the ones that are choosing the seed that goes to them, rather than it being given to them without them making a choice. When you give the choice to the farmer to choose the seed that they plant, you will find that people who adulterate seed, they will not get the clientele and they will lose out. Those that will make sure good seed goes to the farmer, they will have repeat purchases and their seed will have more and more demand. So I believe we need to do that as a country. And as Shegun has indicated, there's need to also, when someone is putting a lot of money in research and development, for that intellectual property to be protected. And also we need to, I believe we also need to protect some of the smaller seed companies. I believe diversity is the way to go, which actually, if you have a more diverse seed base, you might not have a problem in future where if there is a disease that attracts a certain strain or a certain variety of maize, as a country, you might suffer terribly. If you have got a variety of seeds, some of them are resistant to some of these diseases, and the impact won't be that much. I think I'll stop here and give it back to Sonny. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kudzai, for your insights. One thing that comes out clearly from your submission is that banks in Nigeria are there, and you can unlock your votes to support businesses that comes with a case that is being seen as being profitable. And as we speak, thankfully we have Segun and Professor Ogungbile here, managing enterprise and corporates that have demonstrated credibility and also performance in the market. So Segun and Prof, this will be a direct call of linkage for you to go after Kudzai, who will then open the doors at FCMB and to other banks that would lend to your various projects. Thank you. Thank you, Kudzai. Thank you,
We know each other very well.
Thank you for all of your contributions. There's a question that I would want to take back to Professor Ojo. He had done justice extensively to his topic and also looking at the seed space. Sir, I'll just want to ask at this point, what is Nigeria doing with the domestication of the ECOWAS seed regulation? And I say this in the light of what I've heard you said, and I know very well. Nigeria remains a major seed hub for most countries in West Africa and even extending towards Sub-Saharan Africa also. A lot of farmers come from these countries to purchase seed from us, and they depend on us. However, looking at the ECOWAS seed regulations, in your own view, what are some of the major highlights that you see as what we need to domesticate if it is part of the current laws being reviewed with the National Assembly, or what you would want to take beyond just this point to say, providing an opportunity for us as a country and looking at the Continental Free Trade Act, which is meant to provide some level of fluidity amongst countries to trade. Looking at seed at that regulation, in that space, we need to bring in some regulations there. So want to hear from you, looking at what ECOWAS has put together, what are the things that we need to know that applies to us directly?
Yeah, thank you very much, Sonny. As far as Nigeria is concerned, particularly in terms of domestication of the ECOWAS seed rules and regulation, we have done the needful to domesticate the ECOWAS regulation in Nigeria. The seed rules and regulation of ECOWAS have been gazetted. I think we did that in 2008. We have adapted and domesticated it into our seed acts, our seed rules and regulation. And we are implementing almost all the provisions. The only thing we've not been able to really achieve is that of creation of seed fund. And that has been recognized very well in our seed act. If you look at seed act number 21 of 2019, it's actually very, very well noted. But a lot of efforts is actually being done in high quarters to ensure that we have the seed fund that is going to make the seed sector actually sustainable. I want to say that from us as a country, we have done our bit, but we expect the ECOWAS Commission and other countries to do the needful in ensuring that they do their own part so that seed can actually move very, very freely. I want to say that I'm happy it was mentioned, we are actually supplying between 40 and 50% of seed, quality seed that's being used in West Africa from what we've been able to produce. That will show you that we are actually doing what we need to do, but other countries actually need to do what we are doing so that the whole system will be very seamless, and everybody will be happy. So this is exactly what I want to say at this level. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Professor Gumbile, looking at all of your efforts at the level of Premier Seeds, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, the name Premier Seeds also reflects the premier company that is working in the seed space. As we can see, and we already know, all of your efforts does not and cannot in any way meet the national demand tailored towards seed production. Seeing you as a father, a researcher, and also a seasoned agronomist, what role are you playing specifically in bringing other seed companies together, looking at the challenge and the crisis that we have at hand, under one umbrella that will have a voice and will be seen as having a position that will be supported with the likes of Seed Council and moving up to the top level in the government towards looking at the policy documents in such a way that the seed companies will enjoy more support, more attention, and more resources that will translate some of your individual research into an output that will go into the hands of flour mills, for example, and it will become attractive for Kodzai, FCMB, and others to be able to lend and to support the sector much more.
Thank you very much. Indirectly, you are asking about trade association.
Yes, sir.
That we have in the country. Well, before we can do that one, I would say we should have a more organized seed association. An association where we have democratically elected officers and well-defined rules and rules. Funding, very important. Funding should be both internally generated and whatever is left to be sought for externally. Internally, dues and levies. People can just don't get benefit from an association and you don't sacrifice anything. I think dues and levies should be instituted so that the association should be able to generate enough funds to be able to do certain things. And they should be able to have agents of advocacy, that is, organization structure that should be able to talk to those people who could be of assistance, government, or any. There's need to scrutinize models, either nationally or international models of associations that have worked very well, and to make sure that we fall in line with an association that has been successful, so that it can have the power to be able to effect policies, to have the power to be able to talk to people who matter in certain things. Where I see there's a need to have strictly administrative you have administrative staff, not seed companies, executive of seed company heading the administration of the seed association. I think competent administrative staff with good secretariats, people can bring complaints. Okay. Can be there. So those, I think we need restructuring.
Okay.
We are here now.
All right, sir. So let me just take it by extension. Currently, we have the SEDAN. Would you, in your opinion, say SEDAN is doing enough, or are there things that you may just want to highlight here that could be seen as the next steps for SEDAN as an association? What they just need to do, and creatively in harnessing all of the potential of the various seed companies as having a much more formidable force. Yes. That would have the voice of the government, which they already have, but on a much more higher impact.
I think most of what I've said is I think Sudan needs to be more organized.
Okay, sir.
To be able to do something better. Appoint their officers democratically, and being able to move forward, have good, competent administrative staff. Okay. To be able to put themselves together to be more organized. But as we have done our best now, but it looks as if the government is not in our voice.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir. So, Bello Yakasai, let me turn it up to you. From your own space and where you sit, from the outside, looking at supporting organizations, commercial, business, and also the government. In your opinion, from where Prof just stopped, what are some of the things that you will consider quite critical for seed companies currently to do that they'll be seen as creating much more impact and growing scale in our current environment and addressing seed security?
Thank you very much, Sonny. I think just picking up from where Prof stopped, I think there are a number of things. We've tried 10, 15 years back to really get SEDAN to work. Somehow it didn't happen the way we wanted. And it even got worse when the seed companies become so much and therefore so dispersed. And to the extent that SEDAN doesn't even have the capacity to monitor effectively how each individual company is performing within the market space. So first thing is, for me, one of the key things that the public sector would do is to instigate the reorganization of SEDAN in terms of reviewing its constitution, reviewing its role, and ensuring that the election has taken place. And we can come up to support that. It has the capacity and has the fund to be able to support advocacy in a bid to reorganize the performance of the AFEX organization. That's one. Secondly, I think the seed companies should set aside funds from annually to ensure that they are able to reach the farmers' organizations and make them stronger, because selling seed from your outlet is not as effective as selling seed through a trusted outlet formed by farmers' organizations. So I think one thing we are missing is really going through the established and trusted organization owned by the farmers to introduce a product that we think will help the farmers. At the moment, one of the reasons for not utilizing seeds in this country, and we've discussed this with Oga Ojo a number of times, is the fact that farmers at certain time have a very, very low trust on the quality of seeds sold to them. Even though there has been tremendous achievement, but still there's this issue around the fact that, why should I buy it when I get the same yield from my safe seeds? And I think that needs to be addressed. But you asked me a question that I didn't respond to, is what is Linked doing? And I think I should be more detailed about that than just saying the general things. First, Link is working with input companies. At the moment, we are working with about 4 seed companies in Kano, Kaduna, and Jigawa to ensure access to quality seeds by the number of farmers we're working with. Currently, because we just started a year ago, so we are at the pilot level. We're working with about 30,000 farmers for the general seed and input sector, and another 15,000 farmers for just the rice sector, and working with seed companies that are key in these 3 states to ensure that, and this is a pilot, and we are going to replicate it as the years go by. We have 7 years to work on this. We are helping in access to finance, and I'm here, FCMB is here, because FCMB was our first bank, but then we had a number of teething issues. Like he said, we know bank is not a charity organization, but what makes it worse is that banks are so risk averse that it doesn't matter how beautiful the bank speaks. When you go into the bank, you find that you can hardly access what you want to access for the farmers, because they want 120% risk averseness or risk taken from somebody else, not by the bank. The third thing we're doing is supporting provision of best practices through training of what we call field coordinators, field officers, that we sponsored the training and link them to the input companies, so that the input companies could advance input or sell input to this local level, indigenous to the rural areas we are targeting, to sell these seeds to the farmers. So at the moment, we are having about 600 already trained in the general input sector. We are also working to train another 500 in the rice, and as we pick up other value chains, we will be training people who are resident in these local communities, but are interested in agribusiness. So we are training them to be agribusiness entrepreneurs in their local communities, which means a seed company can use them to push its product into the market within those localities. So, Sani, I think.
Thank you.
Doing for now, as far as seed is concerned.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your submission. I have an interesting question here, and I'd like to direct it to Dr. Ojo. The person is saying, I'm aware that if a farmer has quality seeds for maize, for instance, but the neighbor, that is another farm, does not, they both could have poor yield. What then can be done to avert this?
Let your neighbor to buy good seeds.
Sir, did you hear me? Or I should take it again?
Yeah, please take it again.
All right. The question came from one of the persons that joined. He said, I am aware that if a farmer has quality seeds for maize, for instance, but his neighbor who is a farmer does not, they could both have poor yield. What can be done to avert this?
Well, thank you very much. I think somebody has said it. you ensure that you get good quality seed to plant. You know, I think that is very, very important, because all what we are saying, in order to actually show up the low adoption rate, is for all farmers to, as a matter of fact, ensure that they have, you know, quality to plant. I think that is the crux of the matter. You know, but to say that when you plant this and that, I don't think that is okay. But what we are saying is, we are saying the total, you know, seed adoption is very low, and you are still planting poor quality seeds. And you know that poor quality seed will actually bring low harvest. Why don't you go for very good quality seeds? That is what I want to say for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Nkiru, do you have anything to add? Yes, sir.
Yes, what I have to add is you try to get your neighbor to buy good seed, just what he said, because I mean, it's open air pollinated. So your pollen is going to fall on his is going to fall on yours. So whatever your yield was going to be is definitely going to affect it. So it's basically, as you're growing, you just have to find a way to carry your neighbors to be able, especially if you're growing things like maize, that there's open pollination. So that's the only thing you can do. Try to carry your neighbors along, convince them, get yourself into a cooperative to be able to get the chips at a lower rate. When you find good sources of seeds, try to share the information with them, because if you hold such information, their bad seed would definitely affect yours. So there has to be collaboration and information sharing to be able to change that.
Thank you. Prof, you wanted to...
I was wondering, it's not particularly correct that if your neighbor plants an inferior seed, is going to affect yours. Maybe in the process of hybrid formation, while you are having your hybrid seed and somebody plants OPV, yes, there's a possibility that can be contamination that you have in there. It can be in terms of color. If you are having white, it can be there and the color, but may not necessarily affect the yield. And probably in time, maybe something like sweet corn or so, you have sweet corn and the other one doesn't, maybe that one can affect the quality of sweet corn. But overall, in terms of yield, it's not certain that somebody planting poor something by a neighbor is going to affect the yield that you are having, except in the case of hybrid.
Thank you, sir. This question is for Segun Falade. Is FMN currently working with any indigenous seed company? Engineer Falade.
Thank you, Sonny. Right now, like I said, we are working, Kochava is a registered company in Nigeria. We are working directly with Kochava in developing various seed varieties in the country. We are working together with them, like I mentioned earlier on, in local seed production. Kochava is an international company right now, and they are doing this both in Nigeria, in some other West African countries, and in other parts of the world. As of now, Kochava is also collaborating with some local producers in order to be able to, produce this scale at scale. And you remember what I said before, what has made that to be a little bit very slow had been the protection of the intellectual property. Fortunately, Nkiru is in IIT now, so she's also aware of what Kochava is doing in this regard. And we are working collaboratively with them to be able to do so. Our main focus is to be able to produce high quality seeds and sell high quality seeds to farmer in the SKUs that they will be able to use, especially the smallholder farmers. So we come out with different SKUs for an acre, for 1 hectare, for a plot, and so on and so forth. But as we continue in our seed development process, especially in other crops, we are going to focus our attention on working locally with experienced local companies who have integrity to be able to protect the intellectual property, we'll be able to work with them. Fortunately, I met Nkru on this forum today, so I'll be knocking on our doors, to be able to see how we can collaborate with IITA in this and be able to move, our program forward and, a lot faster than we are doing it at the moment.
Thank you very much, Engineer Falade. In the interest of time, we need to respect time. We should not be seen as Africans that do not have regard for time. I want to take a 1 minute submission and also comments from all of you, the panelists, on the National Seed Roadmap. The Honorable Minister for State talked about it. Professor Ojo also did talk about it briefly. So in just a minute, I would like to start from you, Prof. Your views and your perspective, and also actionable steps that should drive our engagements going forward, looking at all that has been encapsulated in the National Seed Roadmap.
National Agribusiness Council is our regulator, and they have carried us along in everything they have done. And we have been practicing most of what they have been doing, especially in the area of seed codex. That one has caused seed companies a lot of losses, money, and bad name, because once your product is fake and they think it's you who have done that one, I think it's a big catch now that at least people who know who is supplying good seed and who is supplying fake. So I think that's a very big result that we have out of all our sons. But we have been carried along as seed company in whatever NASCAR has ever done.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Dr. Ojo, would you want to add any other perspective to what you've shared?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think before I go ahead, it's very, very important for me to really appreciate a number of partners that assisted us thus far. We are talking of National Seed Roadmap today. There are some partners who assisted us to get to where we are. First on the list is Embassy of Kingdom of Netherlands. I want to appreciate them. Also want to appreciate Agra, because we are talking of seed codex today. If not for the partnership that we have been able to secure from these people, we will not be able to get to where we are. Wageningen University is another, and the BMGF UK AIDS. Well, we are talking of Sudan. Also, the NESG is another of our partners that's actually very important. My honorable minister who is sitting, if not for him, the battle will not be exactly where we are. We will continue to try our best because we have a responsibility to ensure that it's only good quality seed, good genetics that should be made available to our farmers. And that's why the seed codex is key, which we are piloting this year. And we want to ensure that any seed pack that's actually going to be sold have that codex. And before you go into actually plant, there's the need to authenticate and see the genuineness of what is there. I think on this note, I want to thank you and stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ojo. Bello Yakasai, please share your thoughts in 1 minute on the National Seed Roadmap and the next steps that you want to see.
Thank you, Sunny. To us, this is a huge development that requires support of everybody. I think I want to say kudos to my bosses, Professor Ojo and his team that have really come this far. I remember we were struggling years back, seriously. So the first thing we did when we saw that is to look at those areas that we have strengths in supporting. And we have isolated 3 areas that we will lend our helping hand onto. And through NESG, we have had a number of meetings. So we are going to look at policy, we are going to look at marketing, and we are going to look at advocacy. These are 3 areas that are linked subsequently going to lend its helping hand or participate to ensure that this roadmap is implemented in the best way possible. We will continue to meet with NESG. At the same time, we probably will have another forum with the NASG and discuss more detail and probably develop action plan for this. But we certainly have already taken it up that we are going to put in some resources to support these three areas that we think we have strategic capacity. So that's where we are. And thank you, Prof, for the good job you've been doing on that chair.
Thank you very much, Madam Bello, for your submissions. Now, Nkiru, before I take your final thoughts, in addition to that, I just want, someone is asking here, looks like BIP is working seriously on multiplication of tuber crops. What's their short and long-term goals for cereals? You add that to your wrap-up and your final conclusions for now.
All right, thank you. BIP is also working on multiplication for maize, but at the moment, the focus has been yam and cassava. The maize has been under the main IIT research, which Pioneer Seeds and the rest have the breed and the foundation seeds to produce. But now with BIP, we're looking at also producing certified seeds to be in the industry. But that hasn't started because what we're focused on mainly is actually on the tubers, but to have all the things we need to expand and start producing the cereals. As a farmer myself and as a board chair of IIT BIP, the length at which we have come in agriculture, we should not be importing seeds. We have all it takes to produce enough seeds for us, especially for some of us who are in the vegetable industry. Yes, for tubers and for cereals, we have come a long way because IIT has done that. But for us who are in the vegetable sector, we haven't really, there haven't been much research or much production of seeds in Nigeria for those vegetables. But for what we have now, I really believe that the time has come. COVID has actually exposed all of us that there's so much gap and there's so much food insecurity. It's time we start producing the seeds, especially the inputs we need for us to be able to grow as farmers. And we at BIP are happy to support you. As I said before, we have the expertise, we have the equipment, and we have the passion to make sure that all the food consumed in Nigeria is produced in country by us. Thank you.
Thank you, Nkiru. Thank you, Nkiru, for those sharing comments coming from you and also driving BIP board. As they will say, what the men can do, the women can also do. I will not use an adjective, but we look up to you and we're confident that you'll be able to make a positive impact in the agri-space, zeroing in on seeds in the course of your tenure, and best wishes for the future. Engineer Shegun, you are there talking, doing, and also working round the clock to ensure that your mills are all running, getting seeds from all the quarters, getting all the support you need to. So what will be the next steps, and what do we just need to hold on dear towards achieving seed security?
Well, you know, it's a rolling clock, so to speak. As you achieve one, you set another milestone. Our goal is to ensure that we have made a considerable inroad into the maize value chain. We have also made considerable inroad into the cassava value chain in terms of the production of seed. So we are completely comfortable, but we are looking very seriously into the development of a wheat value chain and the soybean value chain. There's still a dearth of good quality seed in that particular in those particular value chains, and we know also that it's a large, consumer of foreign exchange. So one of our major focus will be to, with the assistance of SCRI and a few others, to be able to, and the CBN now, to be able to produce enough seed. And we're already doing that in various parts of the country right now. So we will continue to do that in addition to our inroads in giving other quality inputs. All right, because if you have good seeds and you don't have other quality inputs, and support it with good agronomy training and training others to train the farmers in the market, you will not be able to make any meaningful headway in the agricultural space. So it's a complete combo of activities and actions that we already put on the board. I wouldn't want to enumerate them now because of time, but you can be sure that we are becoming very strong as far as we are concerned, especially in the seed space and also in the input space generally. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Falade, for giving us insight into what FMN as a group is doing. And you can be sure that from NESG side and from Professor Ogunbile, Professor Ojo, at any point, I am very confident of their support at any time towards driving your goal. And Kudzai, will come back to you again. Your parting words and how you think you, when I mean you from the finance side, either development or looking at the P&L immediately, what we just need to look at towards food security, seed security.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I think finance for seed multiplication, distribution, processing, and retailing is available. One thing that members need to realize is banks, the money that we give out does not belong to us. It belongs to depositors. So we are guided and bound by prudential guidelines to lending, which protects the money that depositors give us. Anything that is profitable and it's fully secured, the bank will be able to support. And I believe there are lots of businesses that can be funded. As a bank, we even have partnerships with the likes of USAID, French Development Agency, and a number of other that are nice out that actually come in to reduce the risk of lending into agriculture. I believe seed production, multiplication, and retailing can also benefit from some of these initiatives that we have taken upon ourselves. So as a bank, we are looking forward to actually growing our book beyond the current 9% that we have. And we believe we have got partners. We believe the strategy is the correct one. And as long as the business is profitable, is sustainable, we are there to support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kudzai, for those cheering comments coming from you, that as a bank, you are willing and your doors are open to support. We'll have on the panel the team lead for the Links project in Nigeria, and Andrew Tombo. Would like to give you this opportunity to take your closing remarks and also just share some thoughts on all that our great panelists have been able to share in the last 2 hours.
Thank you very much, Sonny. Honourable Minister, distinguished panelists and guests, thank you very much indeed. It's difficult to give a proper summary of what has been said today in 5 minutes, but I'll do my best. The Minister started off by emphasizing the importance of private sector investment in the sector. And of course, he's absolutely right. The government can't afford to keep on supporting. The private sector has an opportunity. But I think one of the things that we need to think about is actually sitting down and documenting the opportunity, where is the opportunity, what is the market size, what needs to be done, and how are the new investors or existing investors going to make money in the sector. We've learned that banks are not charities. This is no surprise, but it means that we have to ensure that investment in the sector is profitable. I'm sure our mills will also agree that if you're going to put money on the table, you need to get something back. And where government intervenes and subsidizes inputs in a dramatic way, this disencourages people from investing. It's a natural response for government to go and try and support farmers where they perceive farmers are not receiving support. We have millions of farmers in Nigeria, so that's quite understandable, but at the same time, it points to a lack of distribution, a lack of extension services. I heard from somebody at FMAD the other day that of the government, of the federal extension services staff, over 50% will retire in the next 5 years. So where does it leave extension services if they are not going to be provided by the government? They will have to be provided by the private sector. How are we going to do that? How is that going to be built into the price of seed? And of course, as we've heard, seed is only the start. There are value chains to consider. That means training of farmers. That means provision of fertilizers. That means instructions on how to irrigate, how to plant, what the soil type should be. All of these things are absolutely critical. And we've heard from Dr. Philip that there are 85 challenges we have to overcome to get the seed sector working right. 85 is an awful lot. We better start working now, and we need to plan in detail who's going to do what in order to make things happen. Without seeds, we don't have food security, for sure. What are we going to do about the issue of intellectual property? It's not just an issue in the seed sector, it's an issue for software, it's an issue for technology. We keep talking about using technology, absolutely great. We all believe in that. But if your intellectual property is going to get ripped off as soon as you appear in the country, then you're not going to come. This is something that needs to be addressed. Perhaps IITA will address it for seeds, but it's a wider issue for the use of all technology. There are fantastic innovations around the world. They should be in Nigeria. Many of them are not for that very reason. I think the final point is that if we are going to enable seeds to get into the hands of farmers, and all the farmers that need them, not only do they need to be trained, they need to be able to buy the seeds, and access to finance is important. We know that banks can't throw money at things that are not profitable. We know that banks are not going to lend in a context where they will not get repaid. We need to find a mechanism to enable farmers to be able to pay for the seeds, for the quality seeds and other inputs that they need. One of the ways of doing this is to ensure that farmers make profits, that farmers' yields go from 1 ton to 5 tons to 10 tons to international best practice. If we do that, farmers will be able to pay. Until we do that, they won't. It's a huge challenge. It's a very exciting challenge. Congratulations to NESG for organizing this event. It's been very rewarding, very informative, but the next steps are daunting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Andrew. As I take my wrap up and closing remarks, I'll just want to request everyone, could I please put on your video at this point. The back-end tech team would want to take the picture of every one of us that is on this call. So in conclusion, and from all that has come out of all that we've said, food security starts and it is linked primarily to seeds. And seeds should be seen as a security tool here in Nigeria. The seed roadmap is on track from what we've heard from the Honorable Minister of State and the DG of the Seed Council. And on the back of that, research organizations R&D companies and commercial companies like Premier Seeds have continued to change the space and make investments. At this point, have they done enough? No. The challenges around is not limited to them to handle as a company. It involves the contribution, the collaboration, and the partnership of all, from the development side to the R&D side to the innovative technologies that will bring to the fore, and also ultimately looking at the markets, which is what then ends up in the hands of the farmers. It requires a heavy lifting. It requires a lot of effort. Are we going to deter at this point? No. As a nation, we've been able to bounce out of several woes and several challenges. This presents an opportunity for us again to look at seed security as a resilient opportunity for us to make the changes. And as I can see from all of the discussions, everyone stands and seems focused towards one goal, towards achieving food security, which starts with seed security. I'd like to thank all of you for making out time to join this call. The conversation continues. In October 27, 28, we'll be on live again at the main summit, the NESG summit, which comes in invites, and also getting every one of us to participate in that event, and even after events, to continue to make our own small changes in our own small corner, which will lead to the big outcomes. I would like to thank NESG for putting this event together. Secondly, to thank the Honorable Minister of State for making out time to come. Our very senior colleagues, Professor Abraham Ogungbile, Professor Olusegun Ojo, Segun Falade Kudzai, and my dear friend Nkiru, Andrew, and also Malam Yakasai for being part of this event. Lastly, COVID-19 is real. Please stay safe and keep well. See you very soon. Bye for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.